Penny Ante was a very popular game that ran from 1979 until 2002 when it was quickly retired, much to the chagrin of many viewers. We finally made it past the dreadful year of 1978, so let's start the new year off on a high note with a great game with great props and even better sound effects. Here we go with 5 fun facts about Penny Ante. First off, an honorable mention, a new Penny game has since debuted. Although Penny Ante has been retired since 2002, a new game has since debuted named To the Penny. Here a contestant is handed oversized pennies and must spend them upon giving wrong answers. While the game is considered by some to be a spiritual successor to Penny Ante, I think it's safe to say that Penny Ante was a well-loved game that many fans dreadfully miss to this day, and nothing can truly replace it. But now, the main list. Number 5. The name came from poker. The phrase Penny Ante originated from the great game of poker. It essentially means playing with very, very low stakes. It doesn't necessarily mean you're playing with actual pennies, but the way I play, that's essentially the only way I am not going to be able to lose my shirt. Number 4. That sound effect. The awesome sound effect when Bob presses the price button, like many other sound effects of that era, was actually borrowed and used across many other game shows. Double Dare, the Alex Trebek version, might be the most prominent use of the effect prior to The Price is Right, but it was also used on other shows including Tic-Tac-Dough and The Joker's Wild. It would also come back briefly in the pricing game Vendo Price. When you think Penny Ante, that sound effect might be the first thing that comes to mind. It's just that memorable. Number 3. The original rule set. As has seemed to be commonly the case with some games in this era, Penny Ante originally had a different rule set from the one we all know today. In the first 5 playings, the goal was to find the prices of 2 grocery items before the total of incorrect guesses reaches $1. There were 2 big differences besides the obvious ones. One is there was a penny catcher in which pennies would fall on the amount of wrong guesses, and 2, the board wasn't split into 2 groups of 4 alleys, but rather used all 8 and had a very 70s era brown and orange color theme. Again, this was very short-lived before the game was regrouped into the version we know today. Number 2. It was retired due to mechanical problems. Penny Ante was a real beast of a set piece. Unfortunately, with it being such a complex piece of art, the game was subjected to many technical malfunctions. It is said that many reshoots needed to happen showing the board working properly on television. In 2002, when the game board was deemed completely unusable for a taping of the show, Penny Ante was subsequently retired. But thanks to the popularity of the game, it was decided later to salvage it. Unfortunately, though, and the number 1 fact about Penny Ante, although it might not be a fun one, the game was saved only to finally be killed by nature. Well, fate lent a hand on this one. During the game's 2002 hiatus in which retirement was teased, the game was left out in the rain and irreparably damaged. And although there were plans to build a new version of the set, these plans never came to fruition and the game was permanently retired. When in doubt, let nature decide whether the game lives or dies. You'll get the right answer every time. We made it to the 1980s already? Wow! Barker's Bargain Bar is a quick and easy game where 2 prizes are offered and you pick the biggest bargain price. Won more often than lost, it's a quick way to get 2 decent prizes in just a few seconds. But this game is rich in lost history, and today's review is going to be a bit critical at times. But not at the expense of the game itself. Here are 5 fun facts about Barker's Bargain Bar. Number 5. Bargain Game. Let's knock this out early. After a nearly 4-year hiatus, the game was rebranded Bargain Game as it was decided to get away from using Bob Barker's name in the game after his retirement. The game was given a new set and a new look, but the gameplay remained the same. I seriously doubt I'm going to hear any positive feedback about this change, but if you are a fan of it, let me know. Personally, I'm not a fan. If there is anything positive that came from this change, it got Drew to stop referring to the game as being named after the legendary Ezekiel Barker, which is just a terrible joke that fell flatter than the cornfields of Iowa every time it crept out of his mouth. While I have certainly received my share of criticism for not hating everything during Drew's run as host, this was absolutely awful. Awful. Number 4. Bargain Game. No, I didn't make a mistake there. One of the more interesting facts about Barker's Bargain Bar is that it is internally referred to, at least at times, as Bargain Game during the Bob Barker run. And if memory serves, Bob rarely, if ever, referred to the full name of the game on air. It just seemed like the game was always destined to be named Bargain Game either way. Number 3. The name wasn't supposed to change. After Bob's retirement in 2007, the game was supposed to remain in its original state in both name and appearance as a means of not changing what worked and also as a tribute to Bob. However, it is speculated that after the dismissal of Roger Dobkowitz in 2008, that was when the game was put on hiatus and then later retooled. While I understand that the network may not want to confuse viewers, do they really think we're so dumb that we don't know who's hosting? Trust me, we all know. Number 2. The original title font was almost unreadable. In addition to Bob rarely, if ever, referring to the game by its full name, the original title was almost unreadable on screen, making Barker's Bargain Bar somewhat of an enigma in its earliest days. This was remedied in 1996 when the orange border was replaced by a dark one, thus making the title pop much more on screen. Of course, this doesn't include the time in 1995 when the game just flat out didn't work. Talk about completely unintelligible, but as they say, the show must go on. And the number 1 fun fact about Barker's Bargain Bar, it is one of 3 games to use Bob's name. Of the 3 games to feature Bob's name in the title, this one was the longest running. However, sadly, since 2008, all references to Bob in any game have since been eliminated. Although Barker's Markers wouldn't appear until much later, we would only have to wait 1 more week until the next game to premiere, which would also feature Bob's name. But we'll trade details about that one next time. Trader Bob was a game that had a solid run between 1980 and 1985. A game with some odd quirks and a truly unique set. This review is going to be short and sweet this week. Here we go with 5 fun facts about Trader Bob. First off, an honorable mention. At the risk of exposing how silly I can be, I kept accidentally calling this video Trader Joe's the entire time I was writing it. Maybe I should stop rating episodes while I'm hungry. No, it's not Trader Joe's, it's Trader Bob. Trader Joe's is a grocery store, not a pricing game. Oh well, now the main list. Number 5. Don't show the price. In one of the stranger elements of this game, Bob would often chide Diane to not show the price when wheeling the items around on stage. This ongoing comment went on for years, even up till the game's last days. Likely meant to be humorous, the joke doesn't really seem to be as funny as he probably thinks it is. If anyone wants to talk about the full story behind this, do share in the comments. Number 4. The set. The set is quite unique as it really adds to the theme of the game. The backdrop is made to look like a log cabin store you might find off the side of a long highway or well back in the woods. It's one of the best sets ever created for this show, even if its only real purpose is to simply hide the items. Number 3. The gameplay was very similar to Give or Keep. In picking the larger of the 3 pairs of items, the gameplay is essentially no different than the popular and often missed Give or Keep. I'm curious which game you prefer, Give or Keep or Trader Bob, or maybe both of them. Neither of them? Your opinions are valid here. Number 2. It's the second game in 2 weeks to bear Bob's name. Only 1 week prior, Barker's Bargain Bar premiered, which also carried Bob Barker's name. There would be one more game much later on named Barker's Markers, which would also bear his name. Today, Barker's Bargain Bar is the only game that remains, but is now simply known as Bargain Game, thus eliminating all references to Bob Barker in daily gameplay. And the number 1 fun fact about Trader Bob, it was likely retired due to its low win percentage. Trader Bob was a tough game that simply did not garner the number of winners audiences would have preferred. Thus, Trader Bob, along with several other short-lived games in 1985, became, well, traded away into the sunset. Yeah, this list wasn't too special, but I promise the next one is going to be quite grand. Grand Game is a popular long-running game that was made excellent because of the hosting skills of Bob Barker, the building suspense of running out of correct prize selections, and of course, the big payoff, literally. A lot of money is at stake, so we're going to have fun with this one. Here we go with 5 fun facts about Grand Game. Number 5. The first winner. The first time Grand Game was won was considered one of the most talked about moments in the history of the show. Pauline, a rather intimidating woman, infamously or famously chased Bob around the stage so she could hug him after winning the fantastic $10,000 prize. This moment has been replayed often on clip show specials and even appeared in televisions being used as prizes during the classic April Fool's episode of 2015. It truly is a fantastic moment for the show's history. Number 4. The theme. The original theme to the game may have been somewhat of a familiar tone as it was the last few notes of the theme song to Family Feud. Obviously, during this era, the theme to Family Feud was used often during prize introductions. Throughout the years, many sound effects were borrowed from different game shows, especially within the Mark Goodson universe. It's always fun to hear them pop up in various places. Number 3. Set changes. There have been 2 small set changes that occurred, and what makes this so interesting is how they occurred at very different times in the show's history. The first being in 2013, where after 33 years, the set was given a more modern overhaul, and then only a mere 6 years later, the set was given another overhaul, keeping the same overall design as the first 2, but with minor changes. As the show continues to embrace modern technology, it is interesting to see where the sets will continue to go in the future. But hopefully this will be the last one for this pricing game for a while. Number 2. It's the first game not to involve the models. Relax, no one is getting fired, well, yet. Grand Game is the first game to be presented entirely without the use of any models. As a result, Bob was able to fully utilize his unparalleled suspense-building skills to ramp up excitement for this game, especially when the contestant made it to the $10,000 selection. No one could quite tease an on-edge contestant the way Bob could. And the number 1 fun fact about Grand Game, with exceptions, the game's grand prize never changed. Again, there have been exceptions and quite a few of them, but between 1980's debut and 2023, the game has steadily offered its grand prize of $10,000. With the price of basically everything increasing in the last 43 years, maybe it's time for Grand Game to start offering a larger baseline prize. And if so, what do you think is a fair price? Personally, I think $50,000 as a baseline is a good start, and then for big money weeks or whatnot, go for broke. $10,000 just doesn't have the same ring as it did when Pauline won the game for the first time in 1980. Is this a price from today, or a date from the past? Get 3 in a row and together you win. Now or Then is a simple game with a simple premise, but always fun to watch. Here we go with 5 fun facts about Now or Then. Number 5. The game's creation. It was created by Steve Ryan, one of the unsung heroes of game production in the 1980s. As a writer, he created puzzles on shows like Classic Concentration, Password Plus, and Body Language. He was also the creator of many multi-million-dollar lottery games for states across the country, and today is considered to be one of the most prolific puzzle creators. Number 4. Now and Then. Until 1986, the game was called Now and Then, but was updated to Now or Then since the contestant literally has to choose between now or then. This is just a sensical change that doesn't affect the gameplay at all, except I will still call the game Now and Then every so often because I get easily confused. Number 3. The prices came from old newspapers. Ever wonder how the research was done as to where the information for the prices comes from? During the Kathy Greco era, she would research the prices using archived newspapers. Today, the show's producers utilize past episodes of the show to find the correct then prices. Of course, maybe a lot of other of life's problems would be fixed if we all had access to news of the past, but that's a rant for another day and another channel. Number 2. The overall look hasn't changed. If I'm not mistaken, absolutely nothing about this game has changed in appearance since its 1980 debut except for a few color changes. If that's the case, it's one of the few games that has not received a major overhaul since its premiere. And the number 1 fun fact about Now or Then, the game is won quite often. Now or Then is not a tough game, and having any real knowledge of grocery items of the day will give you all the tools you need to win it, not to mention that if you play it properly, you can easily get a second chance at winning. The game has an over 71% win percentage and continues to be played often to this day, creating many happy winners. Hit Me was a classic pricing game based off of my table of choice at the casino, Blackjack. The odds are certainly in your favor to win this game if you know the simple strategy, so here we go with 5 fun facts about Hit Me. Number 5. The game is extremely easy. If you know this game at all and you know that a face card and an ace make blackjack, winning is a no-brainer. Pick a prize obviously divisible by 10, followed by a prize that appears to have an exact price, and you're pretty much guaranteed a win. Of course, if you aren't familiar with this strategy, then you're going to have to rely on the luck of the house to win, which could go either way, and that leads me to Number 4. The rules of blackjack are bent slightly. While for the most part the game sticks to standard blackjack rules, there are occasions where there is a slight bend to them. For example, if the contestant pushes the dealer, the contestant wins, as opposed to Vegas where it's a draw. Also, in standard blackjack, an ace drawn by the dealer is immediately considered an 11 unless it would bust the dealer, thus relegating it as a 1. Here, the ace could be chosen to be 11 or 1 from the beginning, but hey, it's Bob's game, Bob's choice, right? Number 3. A contestant once lost, but won anyway. What? How? Very easily, in fact. A contestant named Judy played Hit Me in 2006 and worked up to a hand of 16. The dealer then drew blackjack and should have won. However, Bob did not ask her if she wanted to continue to draw, and thus disqualified himself and ended up giving the prize to her. That's a brand new TV and entertainment center for someone who fell short to a blackjack. Talk about excellent luck. Number 2. It is the second longest lived pricing game to be retired. Although this is arguable today with magic numbers seemingly on hiatus, officially, Hit Me is the second longest pricing game to be retired, lasting approximately 26 years. The number 1 game to this day is still Poker Game, having lasted near 32 years before its retirement. The question is, could Hit Me come back at any point? While I would like to see that, the answer is not likely due to the following fact. And the number 1 fun fact about Hit Me, it was retired likely due to the youth of the contestants. This is a boiling hot take, but it does make sense. Fans of the show are well aware that as the show's demographic skewed much younger in the 90s and 2000s, older contestants were replaced by younger ones. And as it turns out, younger contestants were much more unfamiliar with the rules of blackjack. Thus, it was necessary to essentially explain the game's strategy of getting something that's a multiple of 10 and then getting an exact price to win. That's right, the generation gap that didn't understand blackjack likely caused the demise of Hit Me. Sure, it sucks to end this week's review on a controversial note, but I promise that next week's review is going to be just super. Super Ball was a classic pricing game that could be difficult, but would pay off handsomely if the contestant hit the win circle. One of the most heartbreaking games to have been retired. I have been waiting for this one since the beginning of this series. Here we go with 5 fun facts about Super Ball. Number 5. It's based on Skee Ball. Of course, Super Ball is based on the timeless arcade game Skee Ball. Skee Ball was invented in 1908 with the first machines being sold 1 year later. Although it got off to a slow start, by the mid-1910s, Skee Ball had become a fixture on the Atlantic City boardwalk and steadily gained popularity from there. Today, Skee Ball can be found in many video arcades and in bars where it is considered both a social and competitive league sport. On top of all that, Skee Ball is a lot of fun, and if you've never played it, you are missing out. Having said all that, Number 4. Some contestants could not grasp the game. Those who have never played Skee Ball and aren't familiar with its concept of rolling the ball up the ramp could easily make the mistake of playing the game wrong. Intuitively, some contestants over the years have made the error of throwing the ball baseball style into the holes like we're playing on the nose. However, a little explanation, and of course that crucial practice ball, and the contestant can learn the game quickly. Number 3. Perfection. According to my research, only once in the game's 17-year existence was Super Ball played perfectly. In 1992, a contestant named Maureen won all 3 prizes, and after only getting 50 on her practice ball, was able to hit all 3 win circles, thus winning all 3 prizes before even having a chance at the Super Ball. She won that opportunity as well, where after she hit the win circle in the Super Bowl, she won an additional $3,000. The game literally cannot be played better than this. Of course, if any other contestants did play this perfectly that I didn't mention here, please let me know. Only once does seem pretty incredible. Number 2, the familiar music. When Johnny or Rod would belt out the prizes behind the big doors, the brassy theme would immediately signify the beginning of the big game. And if it sounds familiar, it should. The music cue used for Super Bowl was also the theme of the Match Game Hollywood Squares Hour, a short-lived mashup hosted by Gene Rayburn and John Bauman, which lasted about a year but is known for having been mostly unavailable for public viewing for over 35 years. For more on this game, check out my video, The Top 10 Fun Facts About Match Game Hollywood Squares Hour, available on this channel. And the number 1 fun fact about Super Bowl: it was retired due to the length of time it takes to play. By the late 1990s, The Price is Right had gone from approximately 48 minutes in length to around 38 minutes as more commercials were needed, and as a result, in my opinion, making the show a lot more difficult to become engrossed in. Thus, a longer game like Super Bowl would not work out so well in the show's lineup. Due to the longer than average length of gameplay, this classic game was unfortunately retired. I believe a better solution would have been to find a way to shorten the game, but instead it was sent to the pricing game graveyard by 1998. At least most people understood the rules to this game. Next week might be a whole different story. You're going to want to check it out. Check Game, formerly known as Blank Check, is a longtime staple of The Price is Right. A quick little game, but known much more for, well, how not known how it's played. Hopefully I don't need to explain a whole lot for you to enjoy this list though. Here we go with 5 fun facts about Check Game. Number 5. It was created by Roger Dobkowitz. It's hard to talk about the success of The Price is Right without giving a nod to Roger Dobkowitz. Then a member of the production staff, Dobkowitz would eventually work his way up to the show's producer, a position he would hold for 24 years until his unceremonious dismissal in 2008. He's also been part of other game shows including Family Feud, Alex Trebek's Double Dare, and Match Game. He also appeared on the outstanding documentary The Perfect Bid, which if you have not seen it, is well worth finding on streaming and checking out. Number 4. The infamous rules. The well-known running joke about Check Game is that contestants just can't seem to grasp the rules. Of course, in this game, the contestant writes a check for an amount which is added to the price and must fall between the winning range, currently $8,000 to $9,000. Meanwhile, some contestants have just flat out written checks for much more than that, probably thinking they need to write the check for the price of the prize. Sure, it's frustrating, but that's what really adds to the entertainment factor of this game. Number 3. Writing the check in full. Although not as egregious as the retirement of Super Bowl, Check Game has also been affected by the show's shorter runtime and necessity to get the games moving faster. Where in the show's early playings, the contestant was required to write out the check in its entirety, now all the contestants have to do is fill out the number. Again, not the end of the world, but when little time saves like these stack up, it really makes the show seem rushed and difficult to sit through. Then again, The Price is Right, as of making this video, is still the number 1 show on daytime TV, so who am I to judge? Number 2. No, you cannot cash the check. The checks used in the Check Game are not legal. The contestant is paid later with a legal check, and the giant prop bears no value. However, the contestant is able to keep them as souvenirs, so you have something pretty awesome to show for being on the longest running game show in history. Imagine walking into a bank with one of these monstrosities. We can't all be Happy Gilmore. And the number 1 fun fact about Check Game: the original name was changed to prevent legal issues. According to my research, the original name of the game Blank Check had to be changed due to a pending lawsuit. Originally, there was a game show named Blank Check hosted by Art James, which aired for a brief period of time in 1975. Jack Barry's partner Dan Enright sued Mark Goodson Productions over the name of the game. Subsequently, Blank Check was renamed Check Game by 1987. Meanwhile, a movie named Blank Check was released in 1994, which received no lawsuit over its name. Sure, there are rumors why this is the case, but this is a list of 5 fun facts, not 5 fun rumors. I don't deal in rumor and innuendo. Meanwhile, no rumor here, you will definitely want to check out the next game to come on down.